So we finally got some gameplay of Horizon 2 Forbidden West, and I've got to say, the 5 hours we had to wait to finally see that gameplay was absolutely worth it. Horizon 2 is very clearly a step up from the original game in so many great ways. Like, first of all, the most obvious one I think is the game's visuals. Horizon 2 definitely looks a lot more vibrant than the original one did. Also, more subtle things like the way that Aloy's hair flutters as she moves around are nice touches too. One of the new gameplay mechanics is the ability to throw a smoke bomb to get away from enemies, which I'm guessing is going to come in pretty handy considering the new enemies that Aloy is going to come up against, these robots that seem to be based on Utah raptors. Those seem to be pretty persistent, and their maneuverability is far greater than what we've seen in past games. They can climb up by buildings slightly. They can jump and elevate themselves a bit, depending on the environment, and that's clearly going to be a big issue to deal with. Aloy, in the middle of that gameplay, had to throw a smoke bomb and run away, and even then she couldn't escape. Which leads to an interesting feature we saw. So the Gizmo on Aloy's temple, I forget what it's called, honestly. That now has the ability to show you climbing points in the game. They're all yellow, similar to things like Uncharted, I guess, and the original Horizon Zero Dawn too, as a matter of fact. It's interesting that before you activate that feature, those climbing points seem to be they meld in with the game world. So I don't know exactly if that's what they're going for. Like, you can climb up them regardless, or maybe they want to make you kind of trapped, so to speak, and to use the gizmo to scan the area and see the climbing points. But the way it was shown off before, you couldn't see the climbing points at all because I guess it was a brand new area to Aloy. Then she used the gizmo to scan the area, saw the climbing points, and started moving to get away from the new robots. It's an interesting design choice, and I really wonder how that's gonna affect the design of other locations, buildings, and I guess mountains or cliff sides to scale down the line. I don't imagine it's going to affect things too much, but I'm thinking with this new design aesthetic that they're going forward with Horizon 2, it may influence the decision to maybe keep some places more organic looking instead of putting up the obvious yellow points that you can climb up. Another new mechanic is a grappling hook, which allows Aloy to scale any point available. That itself alone that by itself is going to actually make traversal a lot faster and a bit more fun. It's not that scaling mountains or cliff sides was exactly difficult in the original game, but this is going to make things a lot faster. And it seems that Aloy can use the intent, like if she climbs up one zip line, well, they're not zip lines actually. It's for the grappling hook. So if she climbs up one super fast, then she can immediately throw the grapple hook to another point and zip along that. And it reminds me a lot of the swing shot from the Ratchet and Clank games, the way that worked. You would activate blast the swing shot. It would latch onto a point, and Ratchet would swing along until you got to another point, and so on and so forth until you finally got to the end point where you can just keep walking normally. That seems to be what they're doing with Horizon 2 and this grappling hook that Aloy has now, and it's a very welcome addition. Another welcome addition is the shield glider that Aloy has. So now when it comes to getting down from high up areas, Aloy can jump, and she deploys a shield glider. So this makes traversal, again, faster, more fun, and it just speeds things along a little bit too. Not that Horizon 1 was, or Horizon Zero Dawn, I should say, I guess. Not that was slow, per se. I mean, speed was not really the focus of that game. It wasn't about being fast. It was just about traversing the wilderness, getting to point A to point B, however you can. And eventually in that game, much like in Forbidden West, you eventually get the ability to override machines and ride them, and eventually you can actually unlock the skill to call a machine to you anytime you need to, if you want faster traversal, and that's all great. But it seems like they're trying to speed things up even more in the sequel, which again, that's welcome. That's very much welcome addition. I think something like that will definitely make exploration and possibly even level design a bit not diverse exactly, but it'll make things a little different. I think it makes things a little more excitable, I think, in the final product. Just having fast ways to travel up and travel back down are things that, it's like you didn't know you wanted it until you finally saw it. And that's kind of what Forbidden West has been so far. A bunch of cool things you didn't know you really wanted from the original game, but now that they're here, you realize that you've wanted them the entire time, and like not just this game, but possibly a lot of other games too. So new machines, obviously, we were gonna have that for a sequel. The original revealer trailer showed a couple of new machines, and we get a better look at them in this game. So one brand new one that wasn't shown before are a group of machines that seem to be based on Utah Raptors, like I mentioned before. They look super cool. One thing I noticed, well, it was kind of obvious. Anyway, there was a close up on one of their heads. Their jaws seem to be made out of like chainsaws, which makes me wonder how exactly they fit into the ecosystem. Um, small spoiler for the original game if you haven't played it yet, but in the original game, uh, they revealed that every machine actually has a purpose in the world of Horizon Zero Dawn. They all actually do something, and it makes me wonder how these giant raptors fit into it all. And even more so, the Tremor Tusk, I think it was called, giant elephant machine, which I remember seeing that in the original trailer. That blew my mind. Again, it's one of those things that you didn't know you wanted it until you see it. And like, sure, we had the Thunder Jar, and oh god, I don't remember a lot of their names actually. There was the giant bird one in the mountains. Uh, and then there was what was it called, the Devastator, I think. There was one that was not animal shaped. It was more of a general machine of death shape. We had those giant ones in the original game, sure. But I don't know, it's something about an elephant that's just cool, you know? I've always liked elephants. And seeing this giant machine one, carrying the Raiders on his back too is really cool. That's another thing. So, again, that original trailer showed us that, well, it seems that Silence? Oh, hell, I don't remember his name. I have to play it again. An old bald black guy from the first game. I don't know. It seems that he's discovered a way to pass on Aloy's ability to override machines to some of the Raiders, and that's what they've been doing. They've taken control of those raptors that you see in the trailer, and now they've got a Tremor Tusk, apparently they're called. And this very much sets up a new dynamic for the series going forward. If they do like a third, fourth game, this sets up a new dynamic that now Aloy's biggest enemies have access to the same machines that she had did. Like eventually, you get the ability to override machines, use them to fight for you, or destroy them if you want to. If they're down and you just want to get rid of them, or maybe it's too much of an issue to try to override them to fight on your side. You know, just deal another heavy blow. Hopefully that'll kill them. But yeah, now she has to face Raiders and the giant machines themselves together at the same time. That's going to be a fucking problem. But thankfully, she can handle it. And thankfully, one good thing that they're bringing back from the original game is, you know, the ability to shoot off parts of a robot's body and use them against them. Like you do that with the Thunder Jar. If you aim your shots at certain body parts of the Thunder Jar, just the exact right place, you can knock off some of its cannons and then use those against the Thunder Jar, which makes that fight so much easier. And any Thunder Jar encounter, honestly. And Aloy does that same thing here against the Tremor Tusk. Actually, now think about it, I wonder, do they even know what these machines are based on? Do they know about elephants in Horizon Zero Dawn? That thought just occurred to me. Do they know about alligators and deer and everything? I don't know. If they found any like ancient text or something, maybe it's possible. Maybe a few people know about it. I don't know. That's a random thought that just hit me right now. My point is, Aloy fought the giant elephant with some cool new weapons too. Like, so now she's always had a spear in the first game. That was her main weapon, the spear. And now it's giving me the ability to chuck multiple spears at enemies over and over again, which is yet another projectile weapon, but also one that kind of makes sense. She had the spear in the first game. It's half spear, half just blunt instrument in the first game, and that's still the case here. Even though Aloy has a few new tricks with it too, she can like send out shockwaves and electrify the spear and make it more powerful when she's attacking enemies. Which, great, those are great additions. And again, she can. It's either. I'll look at it again. It's either she's chucking that same spear. It's a gameplay thing where she's just chucking the same spear over and over again, or she has multiple spears in her inventory that she's throwing. Either way, it's an addition that makes sense. You know, spears are meant to be thrown. And now she's doing that in the sequel. Another new tool Aloy has is the ability to throw out kind of some gunk that can slow down bigger enemies. It's used on the Tremor Tusk, and even though it didn't stop it, it did slow it down significantly. So that's another trap that she can use for, I guess, if it's never like the first game where she has sometimes has to track down and trap certain robots. That's something that she can do. There was a tripwire in the first game which you can use to set off bombs and just trip up machines that you're tracking down. And this seems in the same vein. It's mostly a trap for hunting, but it can be used for battle too. Like come up against a Tremor Tusk, or God forbid another Thunderjar, or God forbid another flying enemy. She can use that to slow it down or cripple them in a certain way. But it doesn't last forever, and it shouldn't. It's a video game. That would make things too easy, wouldn't it? It slowed down the Tremor Tusk for a bit, but eventually shook it off and started rampaging again. And that's when, the gameplay demo, Aloy finally took it down, picking it apart piece by piece, and to secure the victory and save her friend Erend. Speaking of whom, one, it's good to see him back again. He was a great ally in the first game. I'm glad to see he's still around. And two, he has one of those gizmos that Aloy does, and which I think ultimately is a good thing. Usually when it comes to stuff like that, something like unique that makes a character stand out, usually I like it when that unique thing stays unique. No one else has it, like the main character has this cool skill or ability or something, or even a side character or something. I usually like that sort of thing to stay with that one character because it's a cool, unique thing that makes them unique, that makes them stand out more. But the thing is, that gizmo that they wear in their temples, or in their ears technically, that's far too valuable of a tool to leave it in Aloy's hands alone. I mean, yeah, it's Aloy and everything, but she's a main character and everything, but still, being able to scan and track enemies, being able to bring up an entire world's map like they did in the trailer, something like that is just an invaluable tool. I remember Silence had one as well in the first game, and if he has one, and Silence has shown himself to not be very trustworthy, just always playing the mysterious kind of guy, leading Aloy to the answers, but like never actually giving her the actual answers when he could. And seemingly, I don't want to spoil this. Again, if you haven't played the original game, the end of the first game showed that Silence is very much untrustworthy, despite the way he tries to portray himself. And the fact that he has one of those gizmos. He's apparently working with the Raiders in the second game, and what he did at the end of the first game. Passing those gizmos around to more people is the only sensible decision. Kind of reminds me how in Avatar, Ty Lee's chi blocking ended up in the possession of the Equalists in the Legend of Korra. And when I first heard about that, it bothered me at first because, again, I was thinking, like, that's a cool, unique thing. That Ty Lee's the only person who knows how to chi block. Let her keep that. But, as they flat out said in The Last Airbender, when Ty Lee was locked up in prison with the Kyoshi warriors, they bonded a bit, and she taught them some chi bending. Was it chi bending? I think some chi exercises, and which obviously means she taught them some of her chi bending, chi blocking skills, and she joined the Kyoshi Warriors eventually herself too as a full-time member. So and that's kind of the way that martial arts works. Martial arts isn't meant to just be kept to one person or to one group. It's meant to be learned and passed down. It's cultural. You learn it, you pass it down throughout the ages, and that's what happened when. That's eventually those techniques fell into the not possession, but the Equalists learned how to do it themselves eventually. So it bothered me at first. It still kind of does, but at the same time, it makes sense. That's how martial arts works. At the very least, however, those Equalists aren't as good at chi blocking as Ty Lee was. And when Ty Lee does it, your entire body drops immediately, and the only way to fix it, seemingly, was using a waterbending healer. When the Equalists do it, yeah, it hurts for a second, and your bending is gone for a little while, but it eventually comes back on its own. Now, I don't know if that's exactly, maybe they never mastered chi blocking like Ty Lee did, or that was the writer's way of saying, like, we do want to kind of complicate things a bit, but it'd be too much of an issue to have everyone's bending gone completely and having to go and find some waterbending healer. It's probably 50-50 if I'm being honest. A little bit of both. So I said all of that, to kind of make my point. Like, Aloy was the main person, first person slash main person to be using a gizmo shown uh, in the game in Horizon Zero Dawn. Then Silence got one, and Silence is not trustworthy. And again, regardless, it's too useful for tool, especially for the primitive civilizations that they have in Horizon. So like they need everything they can to fight against the people attacking them, to discover more of the world out there. They're traveling farther and farther west in the continental United States than San Francisco in that demo. The Golden Gate Bridge, it's gone though, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, they're discovering more of the world, and to do that, one of those gizmos is definitely a big help. So you need that. Even if it does take away Aloy's unique quality in that one area at least. So I'm excited, at least. The gameplay looks so great. It was so exciting to see. It looks so beautiful. I think the only criticism I could have of it is the fact that it's going to be PS4 and PS5 instead of being PS5 only. I've always been an advocate of leave the old generation behind. Just leave it behind. Let it go. And it'd be great to see what Horizon Forbidden West could look like if it was untethered to the PS4 at all. Now, granted, the gameplay demo we did see, it was PS5 footage, which is probably why it looked so amazing. And at the same time, I do understand why it is on PS. I do get like these shortages for the new consoles, like just blindsided Sony and Microsoft. Like no one can get a PS5, no one can get an Xbox Series X or S. So they both have to support their older systems longer than they originally planned to. So it does make sense that Horizon, very popular game from the PS4 generation, and a very much very highly anticipated new game going forward. It makes sense that Sony would put it on PS4 as well, because they need to support that system longer than they really wanted to. And I guess you could say it makes sense business-wise. Put the game on as many platforms as Sony controls. It still sucks though. I think it sucks. Like, regardless of which platform you get it on, it's gonna look beautiful regardless. But it's just one of those things where I feel like the old hardware is holding back the new hardware. Same thing like Spider-Man Miles Morales. The game looks fine on PS4. It plays fine, plays the same. It's just like it's being held back a bit by the inferior hardware. But what can you do? I mean, like, no one can get a PS5, so Sony has to do something, and it does make sense to put this on a platform that more people have. At least Ratchet & Clank is going to be PS5 exclusive, and I think it's benefiting from that, from what I've seen of it. One thing I'm really hoping for Forbidden West is being able to fly a machine for once. I've seen some people say that same thing, and yeah, it'd be great to fly one. We have the glider and everything, and that's fine, that's cool and everything, but I want an actual flying machine. I want to actually yank one of those birds out of the sky and use it and fly around with it. I mean, I could imagine maybe they'll save that for like whatever final battle we're gonna see in the game, like whatever last Hail Mary of an attack they're gonna have, like in the original game. That was a great final battle too, getting everyone together from all the different quests you did in the game. That was fantastic to do. So maybe they'll do something like that again, just as like one last hurrah for the game. But I'm hoping if they do have flying machines, so to speak, being able to fly a machine, I hope you get to do it sometime soon. And if not at all, that'll suck, I guess. Swimming is there. It looks like a lot of fun too. Oh, you know what? We should probably be able to see some really good sea monsters, machines. Call them whatever you want. I don't know, monsters, machines. I don't know what do you want to call them. We should be able to see something like that. What do they have an actual really cool, like, underwater boss fight? Could you imagine that? Oh boy. Part of me wants to see like a giant Leviathan machine. Now that I say that, makes me wonder. Maybe like a giant Behemoth. Well, no, they have that though. I think there is a machine in the first game called Behemoth. You know what I mean though? Like the giant monster roaming North America. I guess that's what the game is set anyway. just roaming around. No one has seen it really until now. Somehow, maybe. Or they travel to other countries, and like if you like, they do a third game, where they start traveling to other countries, like they go to South America, and then they go to Europe and Asia and Africa and Australia, Antarctica. Maybe that. Well, maybe that could probably be the one place they could probably skip because I mean, there's not much there in Antarctica other than like some scientific bases that have been built. It'll be fun though, still. So that's about it. I know I just wanted to air out my thoughts from what I saw in the gameplay trailer and everything. You know, combining what we've seen, what we do know in the first game with what we're finding out in the second game. You know, I just wanted to put all that out there. That's pretty much. I haven't actually played the first game in a while. I need to. I've been meaning to play it again. Well, like, even before Forbidden West was even announced. Honestly, I'll get around to it. I'll probably end up streaming it on Twitch. Actually, as a matter of fact, I haven't even played the Frozen Wilds either. I haven't played it either. God, I need to get back to it. I'll probably just stream it all. But that's it. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.